I got to go to Everest Base Camp when I was in Special Forces. So our team, my ODA, had the opportunity to do a back-to-back JSET is what it's called. It's a training exercise with a partner nation, right? So we were going to Nepal to do some work with the Nepalese Rangers. And during that trip, we had a 2-week period on the front end of it that we basically said, hey, we're going to go to Nepal 2 weeks early and we're going to do Everest Base Camp because one, we were a mobility team. So we're going to get some high altitude training out of this. And two, it's just also a great team cohesion event and exercise that we got to do. We got to do something that was hard. We got to do something that was unique. And at the same time, like I said, the high altitude aspect is no joke when you're doing Everest Base Camp. So we flew into Kathmandu, Nepal, which is the biggest city in Nepal. And then from there, we took a janky airplane to an airfield called Lukla, which is essentially where you start Everest Base Camp trek. Okay, so this is at like 9,000 feet elevation. So you're starting at 9,000 feet elevation at Lukla. And it's kind of wild when you get out there. It's, first of all, it's the most dangerous airport in the world. It's the runway is slanted upwards when you're landing so that the aircraft has time to stop and decelerate before it hits a concrete wall. It's pretty wild. And then it's considered the most dangerous airport in the world also because when you take off, you're taking off down a sloped runway. And when you take off, there's mountain ranges in front of you that the aircraft has to climb pretty extreme bank angles to just clear that mountain range. And pair that with all the crazy winds and everything that happen in those mountain ranges, it's pretty wild. And then after Lukla, you take off. And we had, I think it was 2 ODAs. So it was about 20 dudes, probably a little less because our ODAs were light back then. Every, I would say 2,000 feet or so, you rest for the night. You sleep for the night, right? You stay there. And before that, so the night before, you typically ascend another 500 or so feet, get your body exposed to that higher altitude. And then you come down and sleep at that initial level that you were getting to. So let's just say we got to 12,000 feet. That's where we're sleeping. The night before, we'd go to 12,500, get acclimated, get our body exposed to it, and then come back and sleep at 12,000 feet. Okay. So it's pretty cool. Every single place that we stopped had like full bars, pool tables, full infrastructure. It's literally people live on the way up to Everest Base Camp, all the way up to the stop right before Everest Base Camp, which is absolutely fascinating because when you're hiking, you see these Sherpas and porters carrying massive tables and things like that on their backs up the mountain, through these switchbacks, through these very narrow rock crevices and things like that. So these guys are, and they've been doing it for centuries. Like it's absolutely fascinating to see how the infrastructure gets up all the way almost to Everest Base Camp. These people are next level tough, next level willing to sacrifice and do hard things. So actually at the end of Everest Base Camp, so after you go to Everest Base Camp, that's not the end. Like I said, you go up the next day to somewhere called Patthar. I'm probably butchering that name, but that's at 18,000 feet. Here's what I remember from that. All right. First of all, we are an operational detachment alpha, right? We're a special forces team. So some of the most capable people in the world, arguably, and most fit people. We had a few people who actually got sick at the night before Everest Base Camp. I'm pretty sure they made it to Everest Base Camp, but the next day after Everest Base Camp, we do another trek up to Patthar, which is at 18,100 feet. And unfortunately they had altitude sickness, so they couldn't make that portion of it. But I remember distinctly, I was 23 years old. Yeah, I was 23. So about to be 24. So I was young, man, super young, in shape. But going up and walking on an incline at 18,000 feet, I will tell you, literally every probably 3 to 5 steps, you have to stop and take a break. It's absolutely insane. And it is just, the air is so thin and it is so hard to breathe at that altitude. It's amazing that so many people do it because at 23 years old, at top peak fitness, like it wasn't easy for me. So it's impressive other people that do it, but it was just a fantastic experience, magnificent view once you get up there. So that's Everest Base Camp, like the logistical side of it, right? But some of the intangibles, the thing that you can't really Google, are what I want to talk about now. And the first thing I want to talk about is the locals there. Not only the people that live on the trek on the way up, but the Sherpas and the porters and the people that make everything happen on the Everest Base Camp trek, right? So we had 2 or 3 Sherpas with us, guiding us up the mountain, and their job is really to get us up there safely, right? Teach us things that we can do, like make sure we're drinking the teas that we're supposed to and eating the way that we're supposed to, so that we don't get altitude sickness. Make sure we're staying on the trail, right? We're going the right direction, and also just when there's something that comes up that we wouldn't know how to react or something like that, they're there to guide us. Like, that's their entire job. But incredible people, incredible hearts, incredible attitudes. The second thing I want to highlight is the porters. And these are the people who are essentially responsible for maintaining and building an infrastructure in these villages that exist at 17,000 feet, right? It's pretty fascinating. I think Gorpshep, like the spot before base camp, I think it's at like 16,400 or something like that. But here's the wild thing is there's like pool tables at that altitude, like shooting pool. And somebody carried that crap up there, right? There's internet, there's Wi-Fi at 16,400 feet. Somebody carried all that up there, built the infrastructure and put it all in. And there's no cars going up there. There's no helicopters going up there. It's literally people carrying stuff on their backs, strapped to their backs, up a mountain, up a 7,000 foot elevation gain. That is absolutely mind blowing to me, and just incredible what these people are capable of doing and willing to do. And the curse part of our culture versus theirs, right, is that despite them not having as much technology, despite them not having as many luxuries that we have in the United States or in first world countries, they're more content, man. They're okay. They're happy, actually. They're happy to just go down to the river and play, right? They're happy to spend the entire day with their family and live off the land and do things like that to just live, right? They're living their lives in the moment. They're not chasing some arbitrary thing and telling themselves, when I get there, it will be better, right? Which might be true. Okay. Don't get me wrong. That might be true. But when that is something that is causing you an immense amount of stress and is taking away from your happiness and your contentment, that's when you need to look at it and realize that, yes, you have to sacrifice to get to where you want to, but there's also value in living in the moment and being content with where you're at and acknowledging and being grateful for that. So, all right, I don't want to make this video about that, but as you can see, the Everest Base Camp experience was one of the coolest things I've done in the military, in the Army. I mean, to be able to say that the Army paid for me to go do Everest Base Camp is pretty phenomenal. So I'm super grateful for that. If you got something out of this, like and subscribe, comment below. If you have questions, like, I don't have a super concrete memory, right? But I can at least extrapolate some things. So if you have questions on it, I'm more than happy to try to answer them as best as I can. All right, see you guys next time. Thanks.